Cool. Okay. So, on the second season of this fascinating TV show, what are the challenges for you both when you're doing this? I mean, for you, Wagner, in terms of the kind of accent and the Spanish language itself.
Yeah, that was hard for me in the first season. The second one, that wasn't an issue anymore. It was already. I was living in Bogota, so it was. That wasn't that hard. The difficult thing for me in the second season was I think that my character was facing emotional situations that we haven't seen him facing yet. So that's when Pablo starts to fall. So the powerful Pablo of the first season is gone. It's about this guy like literally on the run and being hunted by everyone and trying to keep his family together, trying to take his family out of Colombia. Because when you have to take care of yourself, it's kind of easy. But when you have to I have 3 kids, and so when I have to take care of other people and to care about them, it's really hard. So it's an emotional. He goes into an emotional trip that we have not seen this character before.
And in terms of how the show kind of intersects with real life, I was reading recently that Escobar's brother was talking about wanting to review the show, and I was asking for royalties and things like this. Is that kind of odd? Is that sort of scary having him?
A little odd, I think. It's not for us to comment about that. It's for Netflix those questions are for Netflix to answer and to deal with. But
we're just actors.
but first of all,
it's interesting because the whole aspect of sort of stranger than fiction that is so much a part of our series. There's so many jaw-dropping moments where you're like, did that actually happen? And then we have the actual footage. We have proof to so much that is hard to comprehend. And then alongside that, while we're promoting the show, the funniest things do kind of happen. I remember we were going to the Globes, and just literally 12 hours before we had to do
El Chapo thing.
El Chapo. Sean Penn's interview came out about El Chapo.
Yeah.
And then, I was briefed this morning about the letter that, what is it, Rafael Escobar?
Roberto.
Oh,
that's
I'm sorry, Roberto.
El Osito.
El Osito.
Wow.
El Osito has sort of drafted a very particular request, and of which it's not that we cannot comment.
It's a price
only because it's just not.
I think that it's the price that we pay for because the show is so authentic and it's so based on and we try to be as accurate as we can. So it's not a documentary, but it's really close to what really happened down there in Colombia. So. This is something for Netflix to deal with. The only 2 things that I would say is that in his letter he says that first of all, he's not depicted in the show. There's no such a character as Pablo's brother in the show, and the second thing is that Pablo has also a son, a daughter, and a wife. So he's not the only one like he says he is. But this is not for us to comment.
I mean, when you're shooting, do you get a sense of Escobar's legacy, and especially in Colombia, because the show kind of touches on his role as almost like a Robin Hood figure for some people, but obviously complicates it because he was awful.
For some people, and especially at that time, till nowadays, of course, if you go to Barrio Pablo Escobar, which is the neighborhood Pablo built for poor people in Medellin, Pablo is very, very respected and loved. And you can't blame these people to feel that because that social difference is a big issue down there in South America. And if I'm a poor guy and someone comes to me and say, "Hey, do you want a house?" I would think that this guy's pretty cool. And
you saved me and my family.
Yeah, right.
And that's it.
But Colombia, Colombians, and they have a very accurate. In general, they have a very accurate understanding of who Pablo was and how bad he was for.
And it's also very contrasting in that, like you said, in Medellin, I remember I was standing with you having a cigarette, and a guy came by, and he had on a motorcycle, and he had painted onto his bike the face of Pablo Escobar. And then in Bogota, you'll get a story from somebody. Which is the other interesting aspect of shooting the show is that the history is so recent, and everyone around us lived it.
Yes.
And I remember a story that I was told, I don't know if I told you, that they were eating. I mean, it may as well have been cacio pepe. You know what I mean?
Right.
And in Bogota, and a family was finishing their meal, and they asked for the check, and were told by the staff that it had been paid for, that every single person's check in the dining room had been paid for, because unbeknownst to all the patrons, Escobar was eating, over there in the corner, and he was covering the bill for everyone that night. And it was Bogota, and this particular family refused to let him pay for their meal because of obviously what their attitude was towards him and what they felt he was doing to the country. So
Yeah.
it's very those extreme contradictions in terms of the way people perceive him in history is very fascinating down there.
There's a lot of history stories about the way people reacted, brave people.
Yeah.
One thing that I like about Narcos is that the for me the real heroes of Narcos are the Colombian
people
who survived and who stood up, who fought against this massive and brutal oppression.
Great. Well, thanks very much, guys. That's
You're welcome.
fascinating.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Watch your head.
Good to see you. Yeah.
Watch your head, yeah.
Thanks.